By the time I reach the end of this video, I want black people to fully understand that when they keep talking about DEI and affirmative action and CRT and all that stuff like that, that's just dog whistle to attack us. But the fact of the matter is, when you look beneath the surface and you do some very thorough research, you'll find out that a lot of those programs that they put in place wasn't benefiting black people to begin with. Now, of course, we always know that was the case with affirmative action. But the question here is, did the same thing work with DEI? Well, I did find the solution to that, and we'll go over that when we get later on in the video. But first, let's talk about this situation with Mark Zuckerberg, who we all know is the owner of Facebook, or Meta, or whatever they're deciding to call themselves nowadays. Recently, he decided that he was going to do this, I guess, this video. This is actually a screenshot from the video where he was announcing that he was, quote, killing DEI initiatives or programs over there on Facebook, and basically going in a whole different direction, which none of us are surprised about, nor are we really surprised at the timing of it as well. Now, I'm recording this video on January 10th, 2025. It probably will come out after the inauguration, because it's crazy how this is happening right before the inauguration, and people are really questioning the timing about this, not necessarily that this is what he's doing. But by the time y'all see this, it will have already occurred. But let me go ahead and get into USA Today and see what they're talking about on there. Facebook and Instagram owner Meta canceled its diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, the latest in a series of political maneuvers CEO Mark Zuckerberg has made to align his social media company with President-elect Donald Trump's administration and the MAGA anti-quote woke movement. Meta said the sweeping policy shift was the result of the changing legal landscape for DEI, according to an employee memo first obtained by Axios. The Supreme Court of the United States has recently made decisions signaling a shift in how courts will approach DEI. Janelle Gale, Vice President of Human Resources, wrote, "The term DEI has also become charged in part because it is understood by some as a practice that suggests preferential treatment of some groups over others." Let's be real with ourselves here. The main people that are upset with DEI are white men. They are typically the ones that consistently lead the charge with this, and they've also gone furthermore to bastardize it, much like they did with woke. Notice how anything that does not center them, they will take it and they will run with it and they will flip it on its head and say this is what it is, and because I'm white and I'm say so and I'm a man and I practically run this shit, it's going to be what I claim it is to be, and don't you dare try to reverse it. Instead, Meta will no longer have representation goals based on race or gender and will not require a diverse pool of candidates when hiring. Instead, Meta will focus on programs that, quote, imply fair and consistent practices that mitigate bias for all, no matter your background. They say that now, but let's see what it looks like a year from now. The company's chief diversity officer, Maxine Williams, will take on a new role inside Meta. Meta is also shuttering its supplier diversity programs. The moves come just days after Zuckerberg announced that Meta would turn over content moderation to users and loosen restrictions on hate speech on his company's platform. So basically, to me, it sounds like Facebook is about to turn into into Twitter, at least Elon's version of it, based on what I'm reading right here. Y'all better get ready. That's all I'm gonna say. Meta joins a growing list of major companies to backtrack on DEI commitments made after the murder of George Floyd in 2020 forced a historic reckoning with race in America, including McDonald's, Walmart, and Ford, that have walked back some DEI policies and programs. DEI critics allege that women and people of color, quote unquote, are being handed jobs and promotions at the expense of more qualified and deserving candidates. They just told on themselves there. Women and, quote, people of color. Who's left out of that? The same group that I just mentioned, white men. On the campaign trail, Trump and a vocal DEI critic promoted the idea that white Americans were targets of racism, like they would want to believe, and made reversing President Joe Biden's, quote, woke takeover of, it's hilarious. It's comedy how they bastardize that word to the point where every time I read the word woke in this form, that I just have to chuckle at it. I can't even bring myself to be mad at it, because they don't know the definition of it. That's what makes it hilarious. A Washington a priority on his second term in office. Proponents say DEI programs are critical to level the playing field for people of color and women. JP Morgan Chase's Jamie Dimon and other business leaders have repeatedly stressed that diversity is good for business. And notice when they say people of color, they ain't talking about black people. At least I know for me, they're not, because I always say black people, we don't fit into that people of color category. They talking about everybody else but black people. So again, that's giving you another hint of who this DEI is quote unquote towards, but it's actually, believe it or not to even quote unquote people of color. Employees of color are underrepresented at every level of power in corporate America, according to USA Today data investigations. One analysis in 2023 found that white men account for 7 in 10 executive officers in the nation's largest companies. About 1 in 7 of these companies had executive teams made up only of white men. And that is the way they want it to be. With Republicans back in control of both Chamber of Congress and calling for new regulation of big tech, Zuckerberg has publicly signaled the Trump administration in other ways. He named Trump's ally and UFC boss Dana White to Meta's board of directors. And look at that, Trump's ally. Remember when I was going over Trump's cabinet and we were saying how all these people were allies? Look, another ally. Does that mean that this person is qualified? Again, I guess to be qualified to work in Trump's cabinet, you have to be a friend. But they're the ones complaining about DEI and how people are unqualified. See what I mean here? And they're not going to call that out. If you're loyal to Trump or an ally or a friend, in some cases, a family member, you're in. They tell on themselves every single time. And when you call it out, then they're going to say you're being woke. You see how this works? Hilarious. This is exactly why KG says all the time, the white vote will doom us all. There you go. It says an elevated prominent Republican Joel Kaplan to lead the company's global affairs operation. Meta also pledged a $1 million donation to Trump's inauguration. So I'm guessing Mark Zuckerberg will probably be in attendance. Again, I'm recording this 10 days before the inaugurations. It's the 10th. I don't know if he's going to be there or not, but I suppose he might be. I don't know. It's a possibility. I really do not care. But you know what? I might actually see if I can get this video uploaded the day or maybe that Friday before the inauguration, because I don't see how this would fit to be uploaded afterwards. So scrap what I said in the beginning of it being uploaded after the inauguration. We putting this up that Friday, whatever that Friday before the inauguration is. I think that's the 18th, no, the 17th or something like that. Whatever that Friday is. That's when I'm gonna put the video up. And that's the end of the article. Now, remember what I said in the beginning, how I keep saying they do the DEI thing. Now, let's be real here. When they talk about a DEI, affirmative action, and all this other stuff, these programs, they're doing it so they could target black people, even though we've said over and over again that black people aren't even the majority of the ones who benefit from it. Sure, there are sprinkles of black people in there that do, but it's not the overall majority. But thing is, I believe they truly know that. But in order to make sure that black people don't have anything out of it, we'll go after everybody who can, just so we know that black people who fall under that umbrella are washed away with it as well. So again, they will get rid of the majority, even those who probably would benefit them, just to get back at us. And I'm gonna show you what I mean by that right now. So when we talk about who benefits the most from DEI, it's the same ones who benefited the most from affirmative action. In a simple Google search, put up there everything that I needed to know. And the biggest benefactors of DEI are white women. Let's read what it says. White women have been the primary beneficiaries of diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in the workplace. White women hold nearly 19% of all C-suite positions, while racial and ethnic minority women hold only 4%. A 2022 McKinsey & Company study found that 63% of DEI leadership roles were occupied by white women. White women have received the largest share of economic, cultural, and leadership gains in the last 50 years. That's why I say whenever they bring up DEI and stuff like that, black people don't get too upset. Yes, we know it's a dog whistle to come at us, but at the end of the day, we're not the biggest benefactors of it. It's white women. The white men that are upset about DEI, it's their women that get the bulk of it. So when it's all said and done, when they're getting rid of all these DEI programs and all this, that, and the third, the only people that are being hurt by this in the end are their women. Wouldn't that be funny if I'm telling you, the infighting is going to be glorious. Let them fight. Let them duke it out. Let them do whatever it is that they do. I'm not affected by it because at the end of the day, we still going to go out there and we going to get ours. And it, like I said, it's hilarious. It's funny at the end of the day. They think that they're doing something against us, but really they're hurting themselves. And it's like, I don't know how you don't understand this. In a lot of the cases, the same people that how they got the DEI, how they lead in DEI are the same ones that gave it to them that want to get rid of it. Much like how the feminist movement started. If it wasn't for white men, white women wouldn't have had it. So it's happening literally again, but in another form. We didn't give white women that kind of power because we didn't have the power to give anyone power to begin with. We're striving to get it. Now, here we are. And it's like, all you had to do was go to Google, type in who benefits the most from DEI, and this popped right on up. This was the AI response, but if you scroll down, it's article after article after article that says the same exact thing, dating back a couple of years. Even as of recent, they're still the main benefactors of it. A lot of times when a lot of these social programs or anything like these financial programs happen, it's mainly them. And they get upset when Black people want to have their own thing and try to invade on that too. It's a reason why Black people have their own spaces, because stuff like this does not benefit us. If there was a level playing field, we wouldn't even have to do this. Hell, if it was a level playing field, they wouldn't be up there complaining about DEI. But then again, they might be, because they don't want a level playing field. They don't want it to be even. They want the status quo. They feel like DEI is ruining that, even though an extension of them, white women, are the ones benefiting from it. But they're probably afraid that white women aren't going to contribute to them like they hope they will. They want to be and have to have the need to be in control. And that's really all it boils down to, is control and power. And DEI, affirmative action, and all of that is hurting that. It's a hindrance. So there's the lesson. But you know what? You can say all of this. You can bring all these facts to their face or wherever, and they'll still go on a tirade about it. It's sad. It's funny, but it's sad.